Tell me something. Do you love awesome spring break movies with rad 80s music? Do you love 80s bikinis, wet t-shirt contests, and incredibly poorly done special effects? Well, then I have a movie for you, Nightmare Beach. So strap in for another amazing entry of Popcornween. So, Nightmare Beach is a horror film that you've never heard of. Seriously, you've never heard of it. It's nowhere. The only reason that I even heard about this is because I was looking for something to tie into my nightmare movies, and this movie had John Saxon. So it's the only reason I ever heard of it. It was written and directed by Umberto Lindsay, and it has everything you could possibly want in an 80s horror movie. It's got babes in 80s bikinis. It's got college students playing pranks. It's got fearless hitchhikers. It's got no-nonsense bikers gangs. It's got a Chrysler LeBaron convertible. It's got Aquanet. It's got a mysterious guy on a gaudy motorcycle. It is absolutely amazing. So the movie starts out with a biker named Diablo who is executed for a string of college student murders that he swears he didn't do. And so while he's being electrocuted, they ask him for his last words, and he threatens the sister of the people that he murdered and the cop that framed him in the film, which is John Saxon. He promises to come back and kill all of them before he's executed. So that's kind of how the story begins, but the story really follows a guy named Skip. He's a college football quarterback who threw an interception in the national championship game. And then Gail, a girl he meets, who is the girl whose sister Diablo killed. The basic premise of this movie is that Skip's buddy, Rivera, takes him to spring break to get his mind off the loss. And then Rivera ends up making a biker gang really angry, and they beat him up. And then after they beat him up, the mysterious killer is on the bicycle over in the alley, and so he thinks he's a part of the regular biker gang. So he gets up and he goes and he starts threatening him, and then he ends up grabbing the guy's bike. Well, the guy has this motorcycle that electrifies. Like earlier, he had killed this hooker that he picked up, and she wanted to get off, and he drove her real fast, and then she grabs on to the handles that she holds. Well, he has these buttons, and he pushes the button, and she's and so when Rivera went up to the bike, he grabs the bike, the guy hits the button, and and there's a lot of that going on in this movie. The remainder of the movie is him either looking for Rivera or looking for the person who killed Rivera later on in the movie. So all the while, this murderer is racking up bodies the whole time he's looking for him. And there's a lot of kills in this movie. So he kills the hitchhiker with the electric bike. He kills Rivera with the electric bike. Then there's this hotel manager that's like peeping through holes, like it's most 1980s movies have somebody who's looking at people in the shower and stuff like that. And so he ends up strangling that guy. There's a girl who keeps bringing dudes to her hotel room with different stories, like, oh, I'm trying to go to medical school and stuff like that. And she brings them in, and the idea is that she's having sex with him, and then she leaves, and she walks him out, and they're like, oh, well, I hope that you do well with your dentistry and you're able to get through it. And they hand her a check like this. Hey, it's a hooker that takes checks. What do you want? Then there's a girl in an RV that he smacks in the back of the head with a big old hook, and he takes her to this place that has a furnace in it, and he opens up the furnace and he turns on the fire, and the fire blows out the front of the furnace, and she just starts melting away into the skeleton. And I'm telling you, it's crazy. Like, we are talking about Indiana Jones looking into the Ark level terrible effects, but it's beautiful, terrible effects, and you'll love it. And then there's this one scene where he comes in, and the girl that was dating Diablo, she's like, oh, well, Diablo's back from the dead, so I'm gonna try to seduce him. And so she seduces him. She shows a little tattoo on her butt, but she was meanwhile banging the second in command guy. So she ends up getting killed. I call her the biker whore. And then at the end, John Saxton dies. He gets shot initially, and then this biker gang who broke their friend out of jail and all of this stuff, they take this chain and wrap it around his legs and just drag him off. It's just great 80s horror fun. So this movie does have some weird stuff in it. Like the cops, they rarely arrest people, and they let assaults happen all the time, and they're just like, hey, you kids, calm down. They're constantly trying to cover these murders up because they don't want people who are spring breakers to find out, because they may all leave, and then there won't be any spring break. I mean, I know, look, I get it. It's a stupid reason for the cops to cover up murders, but they do. There's this opening scene that just has no sound. There's no sound to it. You're looking at people's faces, you're seeing stuff. You should be hearing some 80s movie in the background. The very first scene in the movie, 100% completely silent, to the point where I actually checked my audio output when I first watched this movie, because it was so long and there was no sound whatsoever. I actually checked to make sure it wasn't coming out of my headphones or maybe one of my monitors or something like that, and I just couldn't hear it. But no, that was the scene. It was just silence. There was this kid that keeps stealing wallets and money from people every time there's a murder. But they never resolved that kid's storyline. They never killed him. They never gave an explanation for, why they were harping on it so much. It was just, he stole stuff. Anytime there was a murder, people would be like, wow, my wallets are missing. Or, hey, what happened to the money on the table? And there was absolutely no explanation. You just don't see him again after a while. So it was really weird. There's this one scene where a kid is in the water and it looks like a shark, and all the girls are like, oh my God, it's a shark. And he's got like this surfboard on his back that has a shark fin, and he's in there with a snorkel, and he's trying to scare everybody because there's a lot of, pranks in this movie, like 80s pranks. And the cops that are on the beach just start shooting at this kid. They're like, oh my God, it's a shark. And then all of a sudden you see cops pulling out their guns, and they're pop, 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 pop. And the kid comes up, don't shoot. It was crazy. The wide receiver, he's a wide receiver for a national championship game. You've got a national championship level quarterback and a national championship level wide receiver. The wide receiver dies and he goes missing, and nobody notices except his friend. Like, think about that just for a second. You have a guy in the national championship, like a quarterback that is in the national championship, so he's gonna be like NFL bound. You got their star wide receiver. These are people who are going to enter the draft for the next season, and nobody notices or listens to him or pays attention at all. And some people recognize, they'll be like, you look familiar. Aren't you that guy that threw that interception in the national championship game? So some people notice him, but when the guy goes missing, nobody seems to care. These are like celebrity level people, and nobody seems to notice. But the kills are done beautifully. Look, they're bad, they're campy, but my God, that's what I love about 80s horror movie is that they're unapologetically bad. And this movie is no exception. It's an incredible watch, and I highly recommend it if you love campy 80s spring break movies. The best part of the movie is that I was honestly surprised by the ending. This is one of those movies where you don't see the ending coming, and when you get there, you start to think about it, and then you can actually go back and rewatch the movie, and you realize they were telling me the ending the entire time, and I just didn't even notice it. But I'm not going to spoil it for you guys like the other ones, because again, this is a movie you haven't seen. And so I'm gonna let this end at that. I'm not gonna spoil this. I'm just gonna tell you, go check out Nightmare Beach. Don't pay attention to the ratings. All those people are haters. They suck. I'm telling you, me, Simple Reloaded, am telling you that this is worth your time if you love campy 80s movies. Now, watching it is a chore. You're gonna have to find it. You can stream it for free on a streaming platform called Canopy, which uses your library card of all things to allow you to stream movies. So I guess if you're a nerd and you have a library card, you can watch it through that. You can find it on YouTube if you say stream Nightmare Beach. It'll come up on YouTube, on Google. Or you can go one of those shady sites where you can download stuff and you can get it that way. But absolutely do not pay attention to the reviews on the movie. You're gonna love it. So that's all I got for you for Nightmare Beach. We have one more Popcornween left, and I will see you on the next Popcornween.